Duke Energy is in the news cycle again these past couple weeks because a few old employees stole $600,000 worth of power from them. But do you know about the time they stole $19.1 million from you and I and never had to pay it back? Hi, I'm Yuri, and welcome back to my series on how cartoonishly evil Duke Energy is and how the North Carolina government as a whole has allowed them to get away with it for so long. I know it seems like Duke Energy can really get away with doing whatever the hell it wants, but believe it or not, there is a regulatory agency in charge of them. It's called the North Carolina Utilities Commission. It's a panel of 5 people, and they're appointed, not elected by you or I. Where the legislators set the laws, the commissioners are supposed to be the ones that apply them, right? So our legislator, our wonderful North Carolina legislator, has set a law saying that consumers are directly responsible for fuel rates across energy infrastructures. We are fully and solely responsible for the volatility of fuel costs, no matter how much Duke Energy profits. Which in and of itself is a major issue in my opinion, and many people agree with me. Except probably Duke Energy, but we don't know because when WRAL asked, they refused to answer. In 2023, Duke Energy went to the North Carolina Utilities Commission and asked them to approve $998 million in fuel costs that they needed to be recouped from the previous year. That was approved and is in guidelines with state law. However, the issue is when they went back in 2024 and said, oh, hey guys, so sorry about that. We forgot to report almost $20 million in fuel costs that we actually need recouped. The North Carolina Utilities Commission once again said, no problem, babe, coming right at you. However, the North Carolina legislator had a clause in their laws specifically stating that fuel costs needed to be recouped within a 1-year trial period. They only had 1 year to report and recoup those losses from us. So in 2025, this issue was brought to the North Carolina Court of Appeals. While the lawsuit was pending, the North Carolina legislator removed the clause from the law books that says that fuel costs have to be recouped in the 1-year period. So when it finally come time to make a decision in 2026, the North Carolina Court of Appeals said, yeah, Duke Energy did steal $20 million illegally from you guys. However, the North Carolina legislator has already changed the laws. So they're just going to steal it again if we make them pay it back. So they don't have to pay it back. So Duke Energy stole from us, the North Carolina Utilities Commission allowed it, the North Carolina legislator retroactively changed the law to make it now legal, and the North Carolina courts have decided that there's going to be no consequences for anybody and no refunds. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, Duke Energy, those poor guys, it's not their fault they're being tossed around by all these legislators and red tapes and regulatory commissions. They're the ones that put them there. They spend an average of $5 to $10 million every year on lobbying political groups. Let's call it what it is. They spend $8 million a year on paying off our politicians. Now, shithead